Yasas. Welcome to Greek Like Me, the podcast about all things Greek. I'm your host, Pamela Deodes Wood. Email us at stealthgreek@gmail.com to share comments, questions, and stories about Greeks, Greekness, or your own ethnic background. Today's guest, photographer George Tatakis, began his career as an electrical engineer, but changed course to follow his passion. His distinctive black and white photographs capture the heart and soul of his subjects. Based in Athens, he travels throughout rural Greece, documenting Greek culture and traditions and traditional dress in his Kariatis and Ethos projects. You can view these striking photographs on his website, tatakis.com, Tatikis.com, as well as video blogs, tutorials on photography, and project stories that explore topics from northern Greece's pagan customs of Christmas to exploring his Pontic roots and heritage. The website offers a rich treasure trove of art, science, how-to, and total immersion into pockets of Greek culture that have withstood the rapid changes of the modern world. But he also visits little-known cafes, shares his thoughts on the best shoes for photographers, and presents a blog of black and white photographs of famous artists throughout time. His work is illuminating and fun, poignant and breathtaking. It's easy to lose yourself for an afternoon exploring the many different talents and interests of George Tatakis. George has accrued 22 international awards for photography. His work has appeared in National Geographic, the New York Times, and in museums and exhibits all over the world, including the prestigious Banaki Museum in Athens. He's also a generous and delightful interview subject, as I found my footing with my first interview since my disability. It is my pleasure to introduce George Tatakis to our listeners. We're still audio only right now. We did publish a YouTube channel, and we're hoping to learn, and I'm seeing that you've got videos. And it looks like we can learn a lot from your videos on maybe how to handle things like that. So that was a pretty cool bonus.
I'm also on a learning curve, actually, because I'm a photographer. So I just started to explore filmography now and cinema. So that's why I have this YouTube channel, because I want to experiment, and I have a space to experiment there.
And share what you're learning, which is really awesome. I just saw your video explaining why you do the black and white photography. And I thought, you explained it so beautifully. And I know you're probably tired, and that's why you probably did the video, is because you're tired of repeating yourself all the time.
I hear that all the time, yeah. Everyone's asking, and because, I photograph these costumes that have so vibrant and saturated colors on them, and, they say, why don't you take the colors in? Because people think that I'm doing some kind of ethnographic work, so they believe that I'm trying to record these costumes, whereas from my side, I'm doing photography. I care about photography, and I happen to be inspired by this thing and traditions in Greece. So that's why I do it. And it's the same way like asking from a sculptor, why don't you put colors on your sculpture? I mean, it's the kind of the media you're using and the way you want to communicate with your art.
Well, it was so beautiful the way you were saying that it was sort of going to a deeper layer, like going into the soul. And I was thinking, I'm wearing like very bright colors. I love bright colors. I'm very attracted to bright colors. I have them all over my house. But at the same time, I am very, very drawn to black and white photography. It was always in our house, Ansel Adams, various other, and also the family portraits. Always, I don't know, there's some sort of gravitas, the heart, something is coming through in the black and white photography.
Yes. It all depends on what you have seen and what you have experienced in your life. And I think, for me, as you said, when I look at these old photographs and family portraits, I find them so interesting because the photographers at the time were 100% of them were artists, because, there wasn't any mobile phone to just take pictures wherever. You had to be a chemist. You really had to know what you were doing, and you didn't have a screen to see what you're photographing. You really had to be certain that the photograph would look good. So all of them were at least artisans, but artists as well, in my opinion. So I find, I see this kind of magic in these old photographs as well. And when I was younger, I was picturing myself having exhibitions in the future. So in my dreams, the photographs were always black and white. So
To prophesize your success later. That's amazing. But I'm curious too, did your background in engineering at all inform your art in any way?
oh, absolutely. I mean, I say sometimes that I mostly enjoy solving problems than taking photographs. So while I take a photograph, I have it in my mind as if I'm solving some kind of problem, and this is the problem with lighting. I need to try, and I try to find more problems for my work. So when I go somewhere, I don't use studio lighting and artificial lighting in that way. So that I have more problems, I have to find ways to sculpt the natural light in a way that I want. So yeah, it's a problem, and also my love for architecture as well, because in my photographs you see that architecture is a significant part of them. So that comes from engineering. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's some amazing old, rather decrepit buildings that you go into, which I think is a fascinating. It's fascinating for anyone. I mean, I've always been fascinated with buildings that are sort of coming apart, curious about them. What is the structure of it? What's underneath? The lathing, even what's happening in there, and it's like you're showing us that whole world. You're showing us
Yes.
the culture, their tradition, and also the times past in this building. There's like a history to the building that we're looking at, that you're photographing, and then
Yes, of course. There is another part of semantics in this one, because in tradition, similarly to a costume, which the costume is considered to be a treasure of the family, right? So the the siblings need to keep it as it was, or enrich it in some way. They never sell it. They never, give it to someone else. So this is the same with family houses. So if you have a house from your grandma, your granddad, or whatever, you don't want to sell this house because it's considered to be your family's heritage. So you try to look after it and you keep it in the best possible way for future generations, or even make it larger and better. So I think these two are connected in that way, in the way of the heritage of the family.
yeah, it hits us to the heart because Greeks over the centuries have been displaced and displaced and displaced and forced out. That this is a gift that you can then pass on to the rest of your
Yes.
family, and we receive it as a gift that we want to
Yeah.
preserve.
And I kind of feel for expats, because I lived in the UK myself for 5 years, so I had like a small glimpse of what it feels like to be away from Greece, and I think that I felt maybe a fraction of the nostalgia that you guys feel. So I kind of understand how expats feel and how they see. And how important because I think this is what gave birth to my projects, because when I was away in the UK, whenever I returned to Greece, I felt like I was missing out on something, and I tried to deconstruct what that was, and I found out that tradition is a unique aspect that defines the differentiation of a place. So I wanted to explore more of our traditions and connect more with my place.
Which is amazing for those of us who grew up outside of Greece, because our grandparents, in my case, my grandparents, in many cases, parents, imparted that. They imparted to my mother that desire to go back. That's still home. The US was home, but
Yes.
that's still home. And my mother imparted that to us, and even my grown children. My son has been to Greece, I think, 4 or 5 times, and he feels at home there. It's part of him. I can remember the last time I went, and my Greek is etsy, but I was trying, and I was understanding a little bit more than I was being able to speak, and people kept saying to me, "Welcome home." And I was like, "Oh, that's so nice,"
Yes.
because
Yeah.
in a way for me, yeah, it's weird. It's a foreign country, but it's home at the same time.
And I come from my grandparents come from Pontos, which is in
Yeah,
Asia Minor, you know.
yeah.
That's kind of the same with me. So you know, I never lived there, of course, but whenever I hear something about Pontos or a song or something, you know, I feel like I miss something,
Yeah.
although I don't know what that is exactly. And it was the same for me when I went there in Turkey. I went to Trabzon, and you know, an old man told me that. You know, there is no war now anymore. You can come back here if you want, and I will give you my house to stay in,
Oh,
because you're from here. So you know, you need to come back, and that was, you know, very touching.
that's
And
amazing. It really is. I was going to ask you about your Pontic background, and if that also influenced your desire to capture all these images of tradition, because again, that was a whole area where everyone was uprooted from hundreds upon hundreds of years of living in that area, and everything was just torn
yes,
away.
yeah, yeah, and you know, from the things I say about my semiology in my pictures, I think there are like thousands more hidden in there, because
Yeah.
when you when you're a photographer or a painter or whatever, you communicate through your art. So in my case, I first think in pictures, and then try to put it in words, because you know, if it was the other way around, I would be a writer. I wouldn't be a photographer.
True, true. But you do write well. I saw the New York Times piece.
Yes.
What was it called? The World in a Lens. I forget what the name of the article was.
Yeah.
It was during the pandemic. The New York Times was having sort of like photo documentaries from different artists, and you did yours, and it brought,
Exploring Grace's unseen corners.
yes, and it was a beautiful piece, beautiful photography, but also I love the way it seems like the way you started on this whole journey was that you went into a village, you went into a coffee shop. Well, you tell me the story, because I thought that was like serendipitous, that was what you were meant to do.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell me about it?
Uh, I don't know. Are you referring to the one I talk about in Olibos in Carpathos? Because
Yes.
yeah, okay. So yeah, that's kind of worked for the story for the New York Times, because this was one of my first, let's say, longer projects. So you know, I was deliberately hunting for customs and traditions. So that was my first long trip to make pictures of that. So I went to Carpathos, mainly because I was inspired by the pictures of Kostamanos or Nikos Economopoulos, and I've seen like they had this um, peculiar and vibrant culture, and I think it. I no, I'm certain that they are the only place in Greece where women still wear their costumes for
Wow.
everyday life, and I even know that there are some migrants from Carpathos to the U.S., and I think they're staying in Baltimore, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe, yeah.
And the old ladies over there, they still wear their costumes in, you know, in
Oh,
Baltimore, in the
wow.
city.
That's awesome.
Uh, yeah, they don't have, they call these European clothes. They don't, you know, they don't have
I love
them
that.
at all. Yeah. And yeah, that I went for the Easter over there, and it was brilliant. I mean, they have so different traditions for Easter that they are not happening anywhere else in Greece. For example, on Good Friday, where we have the epitafios, the tomb of the Christ. Um, they decorate the epitafios with flowers on a Friday morning, and at the same time they paste pictures of the deceased that died over the last year. So they go inside the church later, and the women are crying and mourning very vividly in front of the pictures, and they pull their hair out, and it's like a very strong thing. I couldn't even photograph it. I I thought to myself that I would take great pictures there, but I couldn't stand it. It was so dramatic and very
Yeah.
sad, so I didn't.
Would feel like
And
invading.
yeah, kind of, I guess. But I couldn't. I had like such a morbid feeling, so I didn't want to stay any longer in there. So yeah, they also have Tuesday after Easter. They do like this huge litany around the village, which is around about 8 kilometers or so, and the priest, he's like 85 or something, and he leads the litany, and he's doing all this road, which is, it's not a straight road, it's on a mountain, so
Oh
it's
my
it's
gosh.
very tiring. Yeah. And they perform like memorials in some churches around the village, because this village has something like 350 churches, so they do
Gosh.
like some churches around the village, and then they do a memorial service in each grave in the graveyard, and also in the graveyard's ossuary.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that's very interesting, and the whole time they carry some huge icons from the church's temple, which is like 20 kilograms, 40 pounds each icon, and they
Wow.
carry it along all this road. So yeah, the traditions are so nice there, and the women bake the lamb for Easter in community wood burning ovens.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's you really feel Easter in that place, I would say. Yeah. So yeah, that was like my first interesting. I mean, my first long and strong experience in photographing customs. Yeah.
That's amazing. That sounds like, from little stories I remember hearing from my great aunts, that sounds like the way much of the country, at least the rural parts of the country, must have celebrated.
Yes, especially on the islands around Greece, because the islands have stronger traditions around Easter, whereas the mainland has stronger traditions around Christmas.
Yeah, that's I guess.
Especially northern Greece, because they still have these pagan. We call them Dionysian, of course, Dionysian customs. So they try to welcome the new year, and they have like huge bonfires, or they have some kind of scary carnival costumes with pastoral bells around their waist, uh, and they bang those to scare away the goblins, the Kalkadzari.
Yes, I did an episode on the Kalighan today. I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. And you have a blog about this. I was looking at the photos of the bonfires up in
Yes,
northern
and I saw you
Greece.
had a podcast about momos as well.
Yes. I'm,
Yeah, because we have like a custom that it's called kochamanya or momoyeri, the elders of momos. So this is a kind of a similar custom to the previous one. It's from the Pontic Greeks in the villages in Kozani, in Drama, and a few other places in Greece, and they have like a bride and a policeman and a doctor. So and the Kochamanya are the dancers, and they are the brothers of the bride, and there is a ritual going on around the village, and the passersby can kidnap the bride.
Oh my gosh.
And then then the brothers go to the rescue, and then they call the doctor and the policeman. So the doctor always finds that the bride has been impregnated. And
Oh wow.
yeah,
Did you
and the
photograph?
policeman. Yes, I've been going there for 5 years, so I have like a great body of work from a single small village doing that.
I have to look because I've been going through a number of your blogs and I've been enjoying them tremendously, but I haven't had a chance to get through all
Yeah.
of them yet. But I'm following them like avidly because I feel like I'm learning so much, and having reading about something and then visually seeing it are such two different things. I mean, I had ideas in my mind and some of them are matching up and some of them are beyond what I had imagined. And that's really exciting to me because I feel like I have this little kernel of understanding, and then I'm looking at the photos and then the commentary that you've written because you've experienced it, and it's sort of like bringing it all much more alive, which
Yeah,
is
and it's
amazing.
when I started, because I was an engineer, so I quit my job for photography, but I actually had no plan to how I'm going to live with that. So when I started, I was going around these customs, and I've slept inside my car, or I've slept inside places where people hosted me, because I couldn't spend too much. I would avoid the toll roads to get there, so I could spend as less as I could, and that's how I started to create the initial body of work.
That's love. So the Ethos project started first,
Yes.
and then that is about different traditions. And then my understanding is it was in that old village that when you saw the women in the traditional dress in Karpathos, that when she said to you, "Yeah, this is what we wear," that's when you had the brainstorm to start doing women in traditional dress as well.
Well, not exactly. Actually, I started with the Ethos project, which I was traveling around for customs and events. So at that time, I would only photograph snapshots, so I wouldn't ask for people to pose for me. And then after a few years, I did an exhibition at the Benaki Museum in
Wow.
Athens.
Yes.
Yes,
That was amazing, I
so
bet.
yeah, it was great actually. It was very hard to get in. I mean, I followed up so many times, but then when they saw the pictures, they really liked them. So that was easy from then on. But it was hard to get them to see the pictures.
To get their
Yeah.
attention. Yeah.
So yeah, but after that, there were some people from the Fragonard Museum in France, in Cannes. They saw the exhibition because they were having a collaboration with the Benaki Museum at the time, and they really liked them as well. So they asked me if they could also show the exhibition in their museum in France. Of course, we did that, and they asked me to focus on women's costumes, and that was because they were a perfume house. Fragonard is a very famous perfume house in France. So they asked me to focus in the costumes, and that's when I had the first idea about that,
I
because I
see.
knew that the women's costumes are a huge chapter in Greece, and we have like thousands of them. So I would have a lot of stuff to photograph. But then also something else happened that gave birth to the new project, Cariatis. I went to London for an exhibition showcasing a photograph from Carpathos. And there I went to an exhibition by an American photographer, Alex Prager, and she does these very complicated photographs with a lot of people then in beaches or theaters or whatnot, and they wear like beautiful clothes and nice colors, and everything is looks nice in the photograph. And I was wondering, how the hell did she find these places? Where did she go? Where how did she found a scene like that in front of her? And then I found out that it was not a scene, it was not a snapshot, and she was working in Hollywood, and she had access to sets and set designers and
Oh, yeah.
stylists. So it was all studios and clothing and all that. So I I stopped demonizing posed photos from that point, and and those two events, gave birth to Cariatis.
Which is amazing. The photos are absolutely amazing. But talk about the bride, and the lore about the veil, which was new to me. That you just found that
Right.
along your travels.
Well, I mean, you've probably seen the veil that modern brides would wear
Sure.
sometimes. I mean, we all know that, and this comes from that traditional veil actually. So, in the old times, brides used to wear a veil, and in many cases, it was completely opaque, so she couldn't see anything. Um, Nor the husband, and that's another story. So, and the idea behind that is because you have this a ritual of marriage where the bride travels from the world of singlehood into the world of being married, and during the ritual she's in the spirit world. So the idea of the veil was to blur her vision in order to help her navigate into her dream world of the spirits, um, and at the same time be covered from the rest of the people, from the audience, so she's not exposed during her passage to married life. So that was the significance of the veil. And I also find it aesthetically very pleasing and interesting and surreal. So,
Yeah.
you know,
The photograph is
picture
wonderful.
wise, yeah, it's very interesting,
It's
I think.
almost, it's not almost scary, but it's almost disturbing in a way. It's just very complicated when you look at it. It's like, oh, it's a bride. How beautiful. And then it's like, wait, it's a little bit trying to tell me something else. It's a little bit eerie, especially in
Yes.
the black and white, but it made me keep looking at it. That the fact that it was in the black and white and the way that you had it put together, I kept looking at it and I wanted to know more about it. And that's when I read the information that you had put down about it. I had,
And I found this to be a way to separate the bride from other costumes because in the old times, the the clothes of the bride would be very different because they were much richer. Even the bride herself wouldn't wear most of the pieces throughout the rest of her life because they were very expensive to make. So she would pass them to her sister or children. So today that we have so many costumes and each place has costumes made for them, and most of them prefer the bridal dresses. So when I photograph, I might go to find like seven women wearing all bridal dresses. So
oh,
the
wow.
veil for me is also, a way to separate a bride from the other costumes.
Wow. But you do see a lot of the traditional costumes that women did wear on a daily basis in the different
Yes,
villages.
yes, especially in places where they still keep authentic costumes, that they are authentically old costumes. This is rather difficult today to
Sure.
find because most of them would be in museums and
Yeah.
they don't just take them out to be photographed. I mean, in some cases they do, but not always. So yeah, most of the costumes are made today, but they try to stick to the authentic way of making a costume, and this is another thing that also um, is let's say some of my work before going to a place to photograph because I I found um, I, I found consultants who help me find costumes that are very well represented and worn properly, because the way they wear them or the way they stand with the costumes, they are also important, and they have to stick with reality of the old times. Of course, we always go to some surrealism. For example, as I told you, we have like the bridal dresses, and sometimes they are worn by older ladies, which is a surreal thing to see. You wouldn't see it at the time, but today I find it interesting, and a touch of artistic aesthetic, let's say.
Yes, and still representing something from the past that's important to them, because here, of course, all that we see is there's costumes for mostly the kids or the adult dancers will wear, and they're all the same thing. The people could be from many different villages. Their ancestors could have been from many different villages, but they've chosen, okay, this is how everyone is going to dress for this dance performance. And we don't always know what the background is or where they come
Yes,
from or who
and it's
decided.
probably connected to the dance itself. I mean, if they're
Yeah,
dancing from the Peloponnese, they would wear the Peloponnesian costumes.
the proper costume. But I had another question about Karpathos, because you had a photo saying that the women were carrying the dowry.
Yes,
And do they really still do that? They really still dress this way and then carry the dowry on their heads too?
they do. Yes, I mean, if the couple decides to be married in a traditional manner, because it's quite a big thing actually, because the specific marriage that you saw in the picture. I think one of them, I don't remember who, was living in the US. So they came to Carpathos with the whole family, and they started preparing about, I think, a fortnight before the wedding, to prepare all the treats and the food and everything. And
Wow.
they were all working, the whole family. And yeah, then they had this dowry, and it's a very specific ritual how they get married. They even the way they have fun, because the gledi, as they call it, it has a specific ritual. It starts with the priest, and he starts singing hymns, and then they start with songs with no instruments, and then they continue with mantinades. Mantinades are on the spot made lyrics, and they talk about the couple, or depending on the event, they talk about the specific event. And this is where the instruments start, and this might go for 4 or 5 hours. And each one has to say his mantinades, or else it's insulting if they don't leave someone to to sing. And they start dancing a very slow dance. I mean, you think that they barely move in this dance with mantinades, and this takes for 4 or 5 hours. And usually in the early hours of the morning, they will start the pano choros, up dance, I would say, and this is it's very vibrant. It's like Pedozali in Crete. It's very vibrant and strong, and it's very exciting. So this is a way of getting into a Dionysian trance in a way. So you start slowly and you build up all the time. So it has to go like that. There's no other way to have fun in this place in Olympus. It's very interesting because it's very different from anything I've seen so far.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful to maintain those traditions and for the bride to get that type of attention over
Yes.
that course of time, and just for the whole family to bond over that. That's
It was. I have a funny story with that because for me it was the first time seeing a wedding like that, and indeed it hadn't happened for 8 or 9 years. when I happened to find this wedding, and it hadn't happened for 8 to 9 years. So I was seeing the bride walking around the village in these different events like the dowry transportation and stuff, and she looked so sad, and I was wondering what's wrong here. I mean, doesn't she want to get married? She doesn't like the groom. What's the problem? And the idea is that the way they have fun is half sad, half fun. It's a harmolipi, we call it in Greek. So most of the madinades are nostalgic and sad. So they would sing about her grandparents who are now not alive, so they can't see her getting married, and why she's living in the U.S. and now she's not at home, and the mountains see her and weep, and stuff like that. So she was sad all the time and even crying. I said, I didn't realize until later what the problem was.
Yes, that's very different. that's that's I don't know, but I guess it's kind of very Greek. If you think back, that sort of, you have the sadness, you have the joy, and every
Yes.
time there was a great deal of joy, the ants were always in the background going, just to make sure the devil wasn't going to mess with you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really interesting.
But that's an extreme example, let's
Yeah.
say, and I think it's more consistent to ancient Greece, I would say, because the customs in Karapathos are still the same since the Byzantine times.
Wow.
So I would guess that they come from older times, and I guess that's the closest we have to the idea of an ancient Greek gladi.
Oh, what an experience that must have been. And you were there for the whole 2 week period preceding the
Yeah, I
wedding?
was for 2 weeks during the Easter, but then I went for another 40 days in summer because I did an exhibition of the pictures from Easter over there, and then I also went next year during November for another 2 weeks because they have um, two more festivals during November, and they also gather on the island to pick up the olives from the olive trees. So
Oh, wow.
it's again, filled with people and vibrancy.
Wow. It sounds like you really love your work.
I do, yes.
That's a wonderful thing, and it honestly it shows in the photography. And I really enjoy looking at the vlogs, because first I'm seeing these beautiful, striking black and white photographs, and then I'm going in and I'm seeing how you put everything together, and talking to the women who are preparing themselves for the photography, and how you're choosing your locations. So it's like a beautiful contrast between the quiet black and white that is really bringing in our attention to every little detail, and then this sort of flurry of events as the women are preparing themselves and talking to you, and how you prepare to see how this all comes to be. It's been fascinating for me to see how you work.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's always different. I mean, I have an idea in my mind on what I want to do next, but then it usually changes. For example, I wanted to go to the island of Lesbos because honestly, I really like ouzo. So I wanted to go to Lesbos because they have so much ouzo, and and so many different, distilleries, and it should be interesting. I haven't been yet, so
I'll be looking
I
for
went to
that.
my yeah. I went to my consultant with the costumes, and I told him, I want to go to Lesbos, and give me some tips about the costumes and what should I look for, and we'll have someone that we know over there. And he said, like, why go to Lesbos? Have you been to Chios? So Chios is also very near Lesbos. It's in the northern Aegean. And I said, why? Why is that? I mean, he said, Lesbos has a costume, okay, but it's one costume. But in Chios, they have today they have, I think, 26 villages, I want to say, and they have 26 different sets of costumes.
Wow.
Each village has a completely different set of costumes, and that was so interesting for me. I couldn't believe it, and I went on the island. I managed to photograph 21 different villages with costumes.
Wow.
I was like. I was rushing every day. I had like 2 or 3 different shootings every day for 2 weeks or so. And it was an amazing experience. I mean, Chios used to be a center of silk and also clothes in the 19th century. So they would even during the Ottoman occupation, they would ship clothing, and pieces of cloth to even France and everywhere in the world back then. So that's why they had so many different costumes, because each village wanted to show their craftsmanship, and that they were better than the other village. So they had all these different costumes, and I have a blog post about here, so you can see those.
Yeah, I'll
It's
look for
very
that.
interesting.
Well, it's amazing how many different places you've gone, but you have so many more. Where are you going next?
Actually, I want to go to a few places because I feel like Kariatis is coming to an end after, I don't know, 8 or 9 years now. I feel like it's coming to an end artistically, because it's not like the costumes are ending, because they never end. I mean, they're infinite. So I want to go to Skopelos. I'm trying to do that for a long time now, but I really have a specific person who will give me authentic costumes that are actually old. So we try to find the logistics to do that. I also have a few places in Thrace that I haven't been to, like Soufli, and also the Muslim community of Thrace, the Pomak community. I also want to go maybe to northern Epirus, which is today Albania. Um, these are the main ones, I would say. And then I think I have a few here and there, but smaller groups. These are the main groups I want to do next.
Wow, that's and it sounds like even though the Cariatis is sort of ending, it sounds like it's going to be chasing you in a way forever as you investigate and take the traditional photos of the photos of the traditions of different areas. The costumes are going to keep
Yes,
appearing.
because my next venture, I think it's cinema. I really enjoy cinematography. Uh, and actually, there is a reason why that happened, because recently, like, it's not recently anymore anyway, it's been 2 years now.
That's recently for me.
Yeah, exactly. I think time passes quicker. But anyway, I photographed during the filming of a Greek movie, the Phonissa, Murderess, which is the story from the literature work from Papadiamantis, Phonissa. So I went and photographed and created, let's say, a parallel photographic story of the movie. So I found it very interesting, because it was the first time for me getting inside the films, like a large production film set. And I thought to myself, that's not that difficult. I thought it was more difficult than that, and I really liked it. I find it very creative, because you don't have just the photography. You now need to think about the time. You need to think about the actors, the script, the sets. So you have so many things to think about. So I found it exciting, and I find it that it will bring me more problems to solve. So it's,
So in the future, we're going to be seeing more films coming from you, like actual theatrical films.
yes. As I told you, I started this YouTube channel so that I experiment with filming and
Yeah.
improve my skills, which is so frustrating because when you master, let's say master, quote unquote, a craft, like in photography, and then you move into a different thing and you become a novice again.
Yes.
You feel like you should be, experienced very fast, but that's not the case, and that's a bit of a frustrating period. But it's also creative, and I also written my first script for a short movie, and I'm working with a production company of Fonesa because I now know these guys and we had like a very good relationship with them, to get funding for the short film, and this is important in films because it's for short films it's not a problem of the actual money because it's quite easy to do it even without funding, but if you get funding then you can go to festivals so more people can see your work. So
Sure.
yeah, that's the target for asking for funding, I would say. So yeah, now I've written my first script now, and
That's
I
exciting.
also have a few other scripts next. But let's fingers crossed that we'll manage to start with this one.
Oh, yeah, that's exciting. That's very exciting. That's very exciting. Bless all your ventures. I I know you just finished an exhibit at the Athenian Airport, the
Yes,
Athens International Airport.
it's actually finishing on March 10.
Oh, March 10th. I
Uh,
thought it ended in February.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was extended a bit,
Oh,
but then it will a part two will come, so it will be extended
oh wow.
until October this year. So it will be part two until October.
Oh, so I'll tell all the Greeks I know who go every year, they go back to visit the relatives that
Yes,
they have
we
to
haven't
look for
announced
it.
it yet, but it's agreed upon, so I can say it.
Oh, please send us an announcement because we'll post it and I'll let the church, the communities are rally around the churches because now we're not living, all the Greeks are not living in the neighborhoods that they did before when they first came here. We're scattered all over the suburbs. So the churches are the places where everybody gathers, whether they're religious or not, to find out what's going on and who's doing what. So I
Okay,
can spread the word throughout the churches
of course, yes.
to let
Thank
people
you.
know what you're doing, which is great. But you've also written a couple of books. I saw that you had a couple
Yes.
of books on your website.
Yes, I've written an essay which is called "Throw Away Your Camera and Become a Photographer," which is doing quite good actually on Amazon. It's been a few times in the top 10 bestsellers under photography
That's
books.
excellent.
And I also have a book about Olympus in Carpathos, which is a photographic essay, let's say. And yeah, these are the two books I did, and I also have the catalog of the exhibition in the airport.
The Olivos, are those also some of the photos that have appeared in your exhibits?
Yes, the exhibitions now are Cariatis, but I have a few. I think yeah, two photographs from Olympus are also in the Cariatis series because they make sense. Yeah.
So are you still looking to run exhibits? Or are we going to see you in the US or Canada or Australia or the UK?
Yes, that's not my, let's say, actual exhibition because this is a specific format for the airport. So this is a specific exhibition to the airport because airports have a lot of safety restrictions. So you can't actually print on paper, which would be in a normal exhibition of mine. So these are not the exact works of mine; they are representations of my
Sure.
works, let's say. So my target is to do a complete show of Cariatis, which is kind of difficult financially wise because it's about 200 to 300 works, and they need to be printed and framed, which is quite a big cost to do. I started with smaller exhibitions, so I did like Cariatis A and Cariatis B. The first one was at the Karelia Museum in Kalamata, which is a folklore museum, a beautiful museum. If you happen to be in Kalamata, you should visit.
Okay.
And another one on Santorini, on a gallery on Santorini.
Oh, nice.
And the idea behind that is to do smaller exhibitions so that I can create the works and then gather them all up and create the bigger exhibition. I am also talking with Piraeus Bank, and they
Nice.
said that they will want to fund the exhibition
Oh, that's
and
great.
the works, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. And if I have the exhibition complete, then it's easier to move it around. So in case I
Sure.
want to take it to the US, it's easier if I have the works pre-made.
Yeah, a huge undertaking. It's just, it amazes me. And how long now have you been doing the photography? Because you were an engineer for, I think, 10 years, you said.
Yeah, I started like hunting the traditions in 2015. But I studied a lot of photography
Oh,
before that
sure.
by myself. I'm a self-taught photographer, but the thing is that because I was an engineer, the technical part of photography was very easy for me. So I only studied the art part, let's say. Yeah, so I even when I was commuting to work, I would hear podcasts about photography. I yeah, I created a dark room in my bedroom, for example, from scratch.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was
That's
very
great.
fanatical and obsessed about photography. So at one point, I just decided that this is what I want to do. So I just went to my work one day and said, I want to quit because I want to become a photographer.
I love that, and I love you took the leap of faith, and I love your devotion to it. And I understand we've been teaching ourselves podcasting for the last 2 years. This was something we just decided we wanted to do, and we just have been figuring it out. So to see someone who has made that choice to say, okay, I'm dropping all this, and this is what I'm going to do, and see the amazing work that you've done. And I mean, your website is so engaging. There's so many different vlogs that are so interesting. You had one about a cafe. I wrote down some of the things. Oh, the Theoklitos
Yes.
Cafe.
Yes, in Piraeus, yeah.
That was amazing because it was like this slice of life from a spot that the last time I went to Greece, which was actually my first time in Greece, we sort of ran and hit all the spots that my son, who'd been there repeatedly, thought I should see. But at the same time, it's like the idea of being able to go into these little places that are just the hangout spots and that where the people just gather. That was beautiful to see. I really enjoyed that. But then
Yes,
you
and
do.
it's difficult to find because now we have like these platforms like TripAdvisor and Instagram and whatever. So
I know.
everyone knows to go everywhere. So if you want to find a real place that only locals go and it's very small and no one knows about it, it's really hard nowadays.
I know everything is touristy because all you have to do is have one person, and you've done that now. The Theoclics Cafe. All you have to do is have somebody post it, and all of a sudden people are like, "Oh, let's go there." So if I go there, then I'll blame you because it was just a beautiful. It was a beautiful blog, and then you do things like you do the 108 inspiring photography quotations, which was just entertaining and an opportunity to see different types of photographs. It's like I want
Yeah, that was in the context of everyone asking me why black
why
and
black
white.
and
So
white, and now you're
there you
telling
go.
them you're getting really tired of answering that question. You know, it's so funny. But this is why I really encourage listeners to go and take a look at your website because there's so much there. I kept going from one place to another. The Northern Greece's pagan customs of Christmas. Now, wow. I mean, that was, I had read some, but to actually see the photos, as I said, was a whole different thing. There were just so many different things to look at in the different kariatis, but in between, there's sort of tutorials for people who want to do photography. And here are the best shoes if you're a photographer, and here are the best cameras. You have a wealth of information and you're sharing all of it. And it is awesome to be able to jump onto the website and go from one interesting thing to another. And then now, well, tomorrow I have another interesting one that I can head toward. It's
Yes, well, in my work, shoes are very important, actually. Maybe even more so than the camera itself.
yeah, you're on your feet a lot, I bet. I bet. And sometimes I guess you're dealing with the cold and you're dealing with the wet, not as much as here because you're in Greece, but in the heat and
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The cold is not. It's not. I wish there was more cold. Because yeah, I have to deal with heat. That's the worst for me because I despise heat actually, and summer is a torture for me really. I mean, I decided to even I almost stopped photographing between July and August because I really can't. I can't do it. It's so hot.
even Karpenisi, that's where my grandfather's from. And what do they call it? The Switzerland of Greece or something because of the skiing in
Oh
the
yes,
winter
if you go
time.
up in the mountains, yeah, yeah. I'm trying. I'm on the lookout for mountains, but even there, it's so
Summer's
hot.
hot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But it's exciting because it seems like there's so much in front of you. You've done so many beautiful things, but there's so much in front of you. And it's really exciting to watch. And I'm hoping as you're doing more and newer things that we can talk to you again because the website is engaging. You're a very engaging speaker. There's so much to learn. And that is what our podcast is all about because especially the diaspora, we're so hungry for information because we get this information from our grandparents or our parents, but they're not giving us everything. There's gaps. There's so many gaps. And I felt like you were filling some of that in for me. And I found that very exciting.
Thank you. That's very nice.
I enjoyed it very much. So when you're coming out with your films, or even as you're advancing through your films, what the experience is like, I find that fascinating. Are you going to be doing vlogs about that?
Yes, actually, an interesting thing is that now I'm trying to think what the next episodes will be, and one of my ideas is to go back in the customs of ethos and now film them, which would be interesting, and in some cases even more interesting than the photographs, because there are customs in Greece that are very interesting as a peculiar custom, let's say, or something that you have never seen before, but they are not that much aesthetically friendly to photograph. In the sense that maybe you don't have weird costumes or weird places that are aesthetically pleasing, or so it doesn't make sense for a photographer. But in filming, it's a whole different story because you can say the stories and show everything in different perspective. An example would be the Anastenarides, the people who walk on burning coal.
Yes,
So,
fascinating.
this sounds so exciting, and it is, of course, and it's such an interesting custom and weird. But in photography, it makes no sense because when they step on the coal, they are halfway between ash and burning coal, but so you can't see any fire or anything to signify that this is hot where they're stepping on.
Yeah.
But in filming, you can definitely show that because you can use the time to explain that.
I really agree with you. We did an episode on this also, and the difficulty in trying to find a photo for the announcement, because right now we're posting announcements on Facebook and Instagram, just a photo and saying, oh, this is the episode. we had a heck of a time, and we got permission from a couple of photographers, but it was so difficult to really show on an announcement,
Yes.
this is what's happening. Whereas I was
It's
watching the
impossible to
videos and
show in a photograph.
yeah, so that would be really exciting to explore that a little bit further, because I told my sister and she said, "What now?" They do what now?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a very secretive custom as well. I've never been there, so I really want to go. I actually know someone who does it, so I think I can have
That's your
enough help.
in. Yeah, that's your
Yeah,
in.
but I haven't been there, and I know that they are very secretive. They are kind of closed, although they have like a huge number of tourists flocking to see this. But they usually avoid them because this is a very religious
Yeah.
ritual. So they are kind of. I'm not sure exactly of the history, but I know that they are praying during this custom, so they want to be in a different state of mind. Let's say they're not into
Exactly. They're not there to
making
entertain the
friends.
tourists.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're there for a religious purpose, which so much respect. And I know that they were really kind of vilified for a long time by different parts of the church. Some parts of the church seemed to be accepting of them. These were the customs, and others were like, "What the heck are you doing there?" So I understand why they pulled in and they're secretive.
Yes. I don't know much about the custom because I do this on purpose. Actually, this is one of my tips. Let's say for photographers who want to do that is that before going to photograph something, I try to close my eyes on anything around that. I don't want to learn about the custom, and I go there and I start photographing. And as long as I'm there, I'm starting to also understand the custom. So my knowledge of the costume, my photography precedes my knowledge of the custom, so that I have clear eyes and fresh eyes, and I'm not biased into photographing something that is of some significance for the custom.
Oh, I like that. You're not going by anybody else's preconceptions or prejudices, or
Yes.
you're judging. You're not judging. You're watching and then learning as you go from the people who are actually experiencing it, which is, I guess,
Yes,
really
exactly.
the purest form of presenting it,
Yeah,
because
yeah. After that, I will of course study and research then and understand the custom deeper. But
yeah,
before photographing it, I want to photograph with fresh eyes.
that's very respectful, really, is giving them the opportunity to present themselves as they wish to be presented,
Yes.
which is nice. Yeah, I like that. I like.
And also sometimes if you're prejudiced or biased into on what is or isn't important, you try to concentrate in photographing this particular thing, whereas you might have some other more interesting thing to photograph, aesthetically speaking, and disregard that. So yeah, I think it's important not to be biased when you photograph something.
It really is. Otherwise, you might miss something that is actually very important if you're just
Yes,
feel
yes,
like you're drawn toward something that somebody's already guided you to. It's like a tourist going on vacation. If you're only going to go to the places that Aunt Madge told you to go to, then what are you missing that you would have had the opportunity if you were just going along and exploring by yourself? It's a whole different
yes.
experience.
As we say in Greek, η μη μάθεια είναι χειρότερη της αμάθειας. So knowing nothing about something is better than knowing little about something.
Yes, your prejudices don't come into it. I like
Yeah.
that. Very nice. So I, I don't know why I thought about this question. What did your mother think when you when you left engineering? Because all I
Yeah,
could
no,
think of,
everyone asks that. Yeah,
because that's
it's
all I could
important
think
because
of when I started podcasting. My mother had already passed away, memory eternal. But my kids will tease me and say, "Would you go, Syria? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? What is that about? What are you doing that?" So I thought, oh, you're an electrical engineer. The mother is proudly proclaiming, "My son is an
Yeah,
engineer."
I think she was so much worried, and my father too. And but they were always supportive with my decisions, and they showed trust in my decisions.
That's
But
wonderful.
I know from that deep inside she was very worried about that. You could see it in her eyes, but she was, but she was supportive. So yeah.
That's wonderful. And I bet she's super proud of your work.
Yes, yes, he's super proud. Exactly. Yeah.
That's really amazing. So I'll be very excited to keep following you. Is there anything else that you would like to leave with our listeners about photography, about what you're doing?
Yeah, well, we discussed about everything. I think I have this exhibition at the airport. I've started a new collaboration, which was also an interesting story with Arteon Galleries. They're based in Geneva, but they are owned by a Greek guy. So they have like places in Athens, Mykonos, Spetses, but also in Italy, in Venice.
Oh, nice.
So we started this collaboration, which looks very promising, and it's very interesting. And of course, from my website, they can people can see all my stories, learn photography, and also even collect prints of my work.
Yes.
Um, which I think is great. It's a great. I think for me, it's more important when people decide to purchase a print to put in their house than doing a big exhibition somewhere. Because I think that if someone really trusts to put an image that you created in their living room, and especially of this nature, because I'm not photographing landscapes, and it's difficult for someone to put in his living room the picture of someone else. So if someone does, that really means that they really appreciate the art, and also they become like an ambassador of my art, because if they decided to do something like that and frame it and put it in their living room, they show it to the friends, and they say that there's this guy that does these photographs in Greece. And I think my what I want is to really show the beauty of traditions of Greece to as many people as I can. And I'm doing that in this, let's say, modern way of seeing, and with a modern art, which is photography. So I think, yeah, this is really humbling for me, and a great honor when someone great gets a print for their house and shows it to their friends and stuff. Yeah. So
Yes. Amazing. And it's more fully appreciated then. I mean, I love walking through a gallery, but you're walking through a gallery. It's not the same thing as having something become part of your home that you're going to walk in every day and look at it, and it becomes a part of the family life that
yes.
that is kind of gives chills that this is.
Yeah, and exhibitions are of course an event that has to do with art, but it's also a social event. So people show up for social reasons, or they want to to meet other people, and some and some percentage, of course, goes for the art. But I think the collecting the art for you, it's a completely different process, and
Absolutely.
has
Absolutely.
a greater value.
Well, and the average person really thinks about it before they're going to make a purchase. They have to
Yes.
love it. They have to love it
Right. Right. Yeah.
to buy that. So, and you have many of your beautiful photographs. I don't know if you have all. Many of your beautiful photographs are on your website. They are available in your shop. And I loved the picture of the diver in the diving suit, that it's on all sorts of different items like tote bags and whatever. I thought that was great. It's so
All
much
right.
fun.
Yes.
It's so much fun. And I'm just going to enjoy so much going through all the rest of your vlogs and the rest of your photos. And I hope you'll join us again to catch up, because there's just
Sure thing. Yeah.
there's so
Anytime.
much to your work and it was just such a pleasure having you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for
Very nice to
joining
meet
us.
you.
And we'll be sure to post all of your information where people can find you. You're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, you're on Facebook, YouTube, as we've said, and your website. And whether people are art lovers or they want to learn what shoes to wear when they're taking photographs, that these are the places to be.
Right. Exactly.
You've been a joy. Thank you, George.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. Our thanks again to George Tatakis for joining us today and for being a gracious and generous guest. Check out his website, tatakis.com, Tatakis.com, and his YouTube channel, George Tatakis, and on Instagram at Tatakisg. Greek Like Me is a Stealth Greek production. Our producer, photographer, and post-production editor is Douglas John. Visit our website at stealthgreek.com for resources, photos, links, and more. Please rate, like, and subscribe. It really does help us get noticed so we can keep making content about Greeks and Greek culture. See you next time. Yes, us.